When Ben first saw the bear, he was filled with a thrill he hadn't experienced in years. Hunting had always been his passion, not just for the money it brought, but for the challenge and the primal connection to nature it offered. This bear, however, was unlike anything he had ever encountered. Its size was staggering, a massive, almost mythical beast that seemed to dwarf the forest around it. As Ben crouched behind a cluster of bushes, his rifle in hand, he couldn't help but imagine the fortune its fur would fetch. This was a prize no hunter could resist. And yet, as he steadied his aim, something peculiar happened. His finger hesitated on the trigger. He watched the bear lumber through the clearing, its sheer mass moving with surprising grace. There was an aura about it, a sense of majesty that made Ben's heart race in a way he couldn't quite explain. Ben was a hunter through and through, but as he watched the bear, he felt a pang of doubt. It wasn't fear. He'd faced plenty of dangerous animals before. No, this was something different, something deeper. He couldn't bring himself to shoot. Instead, an idea began to form. What if he didn't kill the bear? What if he captured it instead? But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming stories. The thought was as exhilarating as it was daunting. A bear of this size was surely a rarity, perhaps even unique. There were people who would pay handsomely for such an extraordinary creature. But how could he capture it? Tracking and shooting was one thing, but bringing down a bear of this magnitude alive would require resources and manpower. Ben decided to follow the bear, keeping a safe distance. It was clear the animal had already noticed him. Their eyes met more than once, and each time Ben felt a strange, unsettling connection. The bear didn't seem to view him as a threat, nor did it flee. It simply continued on its path, occasionally pausing to forage or rest. Ben's curiosity grew with every step. As he observed the bear, another thought struck him. Could the bear's enormous size be due to some kind of illness or condition? If so, it might not be as valuable as he hoped. Determined to get answers, Ben decided to consult someone with expertise. That's when he thought of Dr. Hayes, a local veterinarian known for his discretion and willingness to take on unusual cases. Ben knew Dr. Hayes wasn't entirely above board. The vet had a reputation for turning a blind eye to legalities if the price was right, which made him the perfect candidate for Ben's plan. He would tranquilize the bear, transport it to the vet, and have it examined. With the right incentive, Dr. Hayes would keep his mouth shut. The next step was to prepare. Ben called a few of his hunting buddies and explained his plan. They were skeptical at first, but the promise of a hefty payout won them over. Within a few hours, they arrived with a large truck, tranquilizer darts, and enough rope to secure the bear. They also brought along a few rifles, just in case things went south. When they reached the area where Ben had last seen the bear, they found it resting near the entrance of a small cave. It was a stroke of luck. The cave's location near a dirt road meant they could maneuver the truck close enough to load the bear without too much difficulty. The bear's peaceful slumber only added to their confidence. The plan was simple: tranquilize the bear and transport it to Dr. Hayes. They fired 3 darts into the bear, expecting it to go down quietly. But the reaction was anything but subdued. The bear roared in fury, its massive frame shaking as it rose to its feet. Its eyes locked onto the group, and for the first time, Ben felt a twinge of fear. The bear charged. Panic set in. Ben and his friends scattered, each man running in a different direction. The bear, however, seemed fixated on Ben. Its thunderous footsteps closed the distance rapidly, and Ben's mind raced for a solution. Spotting a sturdy tree, he scrambled up its trunk, narrowly avoiding the bear's swiping claws. From his perch, Ben watched as the bear circled below, growling and snapping at the air. Its size was even more intimidating up close. The tranquilizer darts, which should have incapacitated any normal bear, seemed to have little effect. Ben clung to the tree, his heart pounding as he tried to steady his breathing. The bear's rage eventually subsided. With a final, frustrated snort, it turned and lumbered away. Ben waited until he was sure the animal was gone before climbing down. His friends emerged from their hiding spots, their faces pale and their breaths ragged. Determined not to give up, Ben revised his plan. They needed stronger tranquilizers and a better strategy. After regrouping and making some phone calls, they acquired a more potent sedative and prepared for another attempt. This time, they approached the bear with extreme caution. It had returned to the cave, and its labored movements suggested the tranquilizers were beginning to take effect. Ben took aim and fired another dart. The bear growled but didn't rise. Slowly, its massive body slumped to the ground. The team worked quickly, securing the bear with ropes and loading it onto the truck. The operation was tense but successful. As they drove to Dr. Hayes' clinic, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that they were dealing with something far beyond their understanding. Dr. Hayes greeted them with a mixture of curiosity and concern. When he saw the bear, his eyes widened. "What have you brought me, Ben?" he asked, his tone serious. The vet wasted no time. He performed an ultrasound, his brow furrowing as he studied the results. After a few minutes, he stepped back and grabbed his phone. "Calling the authorities." Ben's temper flared. He'd brought the bear to Hayes because he trusted the vet's discretion. Now it seemed that trust had been misplaced. He was ready to confront Hayes, but the vet raised a hand to stop him. "Listen," Hayes said, his voice calm but firm. "I'm not calling the police on you. This bear, it's not just a bear. There's something inside it. Something I've never seen before." The weight of the statement hung in the air. Ben's anger gave way to confusion and unease. "What do you mean, something inside it?" Before Hayes could explain, a team of officers arrived. To Ben's surprise, they paid little attention to him or his friends. Their focus was entirely on the bear and the ultrasound results Hayes showed them. Ben felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Whatever was happening, it was beyond anything he had anticipated. The officers' grave expressions and hushed conversations only deepened his unease. Ben stepped forward, his voice steady despite the tumult in his mind. "We found the bear in the forest," he began, hoping to preempt any accusations. To his relief, the officers clarified their purpose. They were here for the bear, not to investigate the group. However, their intense focus on the ultrasound image suggested the matter was far from ordinary. "What did you find?" one officer asked the vet. Pointing to the anomalous shape, the vet explained its presence as something foreign, likely man-made. The revelation sparked a wave of theories among the group. Could it be a tumor? One suggested. Or something the bear swallowed? Another wondered aloud. The officers maintained their composure, their interest palpable. The vet proposed a surgical procedure to extract the object. "It's the only way to understand what we're dealing with," he stated. The police agreed, their decision underscored by the mystery surrounding the bear. Ben and his friends felt a mix of relief and trepidation. They were no longer under suspicion, but the bear's ordeal and theirs was far from over. The operation began under the vet's steady hands. The room fell silent, the tension almost suffocating. Ben watched intently, his knuckles white from clenching his fists. Every minute felt like an eternity as the vet worked meticulously. The bear's steady breathing under anesthesia was the only sound, a fragile reassurance amidst the uncertainty. Finally, the vet paused and carefully extracted the object. He held it up for all to see, a camera, its metal casing battered but intact. The group stared in disbelief, the revelation both shocking and inexplicable. How had a camera ended up inside the bear? The questions multiplied, each more confounding than the last. The discovery marked a turning point. The police took custody of the camera, intending to investigate its origins. Meanwhile, the group reflected on the implications of their actions. The bear's abnormal size was likely caused by the device, and they couldn't ignore their role in the animal's plight. As the bear began its recovery, Ben and his friends made a collective decision. Selling the bear, once an alluring prospect, was no longer an option. Their journey had evolved into something far more significant, a mission to restore the bear to its natural habitat. Plans were drawn up with meticulous care. The group identified a remote area where the bear could thrive. They worked tirelessly to ensure the animal's comfort during its return journey. The atmosphere among them had shifted. What began as a venture for personal gain had transformed into an act of redemption. The drive back to the forest was a solemn affair. The group, once hunters, now saw themselves as guardians. They navigated the winding roads in silence, each lost in thought. Upon reaching their destination, they gently released the bear. It hesitated for a moment before disappearing into the dense greenery, its massive form blending seamlessly with the wilderness. The sight was both humbling and poignant. The group stood in quiet reverence, the weight of their journey settling over them. Their reflections revealed how deeply the experience had impacted them. What started as a simple hunt had become a transformative lesson in respect, responsibility, and coexistence with nature. Ben, in particular, felt the profound shift in his perspective. The bear's plight and the mysteries they uncovered had reshaped his understanding of the natural world. He vowed to approach wildlife with a renewed sense of respect and advocacy. As the group departed, the forest seemed to reclaim its calm, the bear's departure a fitting conclusion to their shared journey. The image of the giant bear, once a target, now a symbol of resilience and reverence, would remain etched in their memories forever. Their adventure had ended, but the lessons learned promised to guide their actions for years to come.